Okay, so we spent a whole lot of time on using the last video to go over what the general strategies of each of the players are based on the missions that they had available to choose from and the cards. I wonder what that was. Got my game playing, but something. Okay, that they drew in an attempt to kind of actuate those missions. And they also know these events. We have, these are now exposed. And so discovering a continent is a new mission that's available to anyone. Getting your income up to 15 after all expenses is one to keep in mind. Having claims and alliances in two of, and this looks like the whole Spanish sort of inheritance, a lot of it. Aragon, Tunisia, Naples, Lombardy, Flanders, and Wallonia, Lower Saxony, Bohemia, and Prussia. No, it's much broader than that. With 3 or more cubes in total among the 2 areas that you choose, and build up the force limit, have 9 or more armies with all armies deployed. Now, someone, I think it's the English, have levied the troops where they have to have all their armies deployed, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're going to have to expand the size of their base army for that, to work for them. The Austrians may have a bigger enough army. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Nope. I know that they get the Holy Roman Empire card. So everything's exposed. We're ready to go. There's no draw cards phase in the first round of the game. So we hit the action phase, and we go and find ourselves at this first player marker. We're going to work clockwise, odd as that may seem, and it's time to decide what the Turks want to do first. Okay. Yeah, I'm real wordy right now, and I don't know why. Could be an excitement about the game, could be just loneliness, whatever. Who knows? Okay, he wants to get all his armies deployed. That's kind of neat. And he wants to own Constantinople. Let's look at our options of cards. We've already looked a lot at this. Okay, we don't want to do this because that allows me to get rid of some unrest, and I would rather hold off on that. Is there one of these that's absolutely important to me? I could force the Austrians to accept a Hungarian monarch, and that might be of some value. I could play with the Comet sighted card. Again, there's some power to using that, but research an idea at the cost of just 2. Okay, so this is a first person who does this gets an advantage. Not really playing around with alliances on anyone. Insipid leadership. Okay, so let's see if there's an idea we want. Seems like a thing to do. There's all kinds of actions to choose, but out of the ideas, tolerance was one we were able to get from something. Colonization policy, that doesn't help. Quest for the New World would. You can use ships when performing Explorer. So, I could send the Turks off to go discover the New World. That would be kind of interesting. It's also possible in the other board game and obviously in the computer game, but it's not very effective in the board game because you have a limited number of colonies and holdings. Free trade. Gain a third merchant and place it on any main map trade node. You lose this idea if you research mercantilism, and it gives you a free trade action. That's kind of neat. This is only worth, well, these are all worth only 2. Benign diplomats. Whenever you place 3 or more cubes at once during an influence action, you get an extra one for free. You may place up to 3 in each area per influence action, and also in areas adjacent to any of your ships. There's a limit? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, so here, the diplomatic action, influence. Okay, well, let's find and see. Pay 1 for the first, then either 1 or 3 for each subsequent. You may place them adjacent to any of your things that were there at the start of the turn. You may place as many as you like, but no more than 2 in each area. Okay, so this increases it to 3. That's your freebie. And you can't place them on distant continents. So now we look at this and try to understand, hey, why does this not work the way we think it does? Whenever you place 3 or more at once during an influence, you get an extra one for free. Oh, okay. So I get 1 free one if I produce a whole bunch, and I can put an extra 3 on each area per influence action. Okay. Now I don't remember what I'm trying to do. Military drill. When you fight a land battle at the end of step 1, remove one of your enemy's battle dice from the battle. But you gain some penalty there. You know, cannons might be what I want. That's going to help me with siege. They're kind of expensive. I think that's what I'm going to go for. Remember, I can get the tertios and the tolerance through other things I have here, right? This gets me a research, pay 2 military to research tertios, and pay 2 admin to immediately research tolerance. So let's go for those cannons. Let's play this. All right, this costs me 2 admin. See, this isn't actually cheap. It costs me 2 admin and 2 military. But it would cost me 5 military, I believe, to get the cannons right off the bat. And I just don't have that. So this saves me a little bit, not as much as I thought. Okay, so there goes 2 admin and 2 military. I get one of these. I have stability of 0 or more. I'm the first person to research it, so I get an extra point of whatever. So I get this here. So I will be getting 3 points of prestige. And yeah, you know, it takes... We're not going to go in this depth of looking at things. And I also get an artillery in an existing army. I have an army on the board. Now, I think this has to come from, let's see how, it has to come from my manpower, because otherwise I'm generating an extra man as well. So that's this card. It's been used up. The leader is no longer available to me. And I put that here. I could do additional minor action here, like appointing a leader. I don't see any of that as being worth my time. So we're going to move over to the next player, who will be the French. Continuing with my wordiness. Oh, I finally tucked him under. I can do this. The French is easier because they're already got their hook under there. All right, my 2 goals, I don't really have anything that directly impacts them. There's nothing I can think of I can do. I could throw some cubes down and stuff and maybe that'll work, maybe not. I could certainly try to fabricate a claim, but I have claims where I need them. I could prepare myself for war with the English. That would make sense. The military traditions, the cannons, there's a number of different things that I could do there. I do have a revolutionary idea of my own. I'm very tempted, though. So I could do the cannons. I have these study technologies, which would work only with an opponent who's adjacent to my realm. Well, that's not the Turks, unfortunately. They're a little too far away. I get to here as the furthest I go in their direction. So that's not going to work. I could. None of the events look like they're burning a hole in my pocket right now, where I want to grab one early and give people bonuses on the remaining ones and turn up another and perhaps more interesting one. Spy network is possibly interesting. So the real questions are the military tradition. Give me a cav bonus if I fire that off. Veterans is your enemy must remove 2 battle dice before a battle roll. I'm trying to see the difference of these. They have a different symbol on them, don't they? One has the reaction symbol, the other has the other one's a battle symbol. I can use it for a single battle roll, is what it is. It looks like they're giving the finger. Military education, I get to grab a general from the discards. Well, I can look over at the discards. There is Robert, who gives 2 infantry. That's pretty cool. Pick and assign any general from the discards. That looks like a normal action to fire off, though, as opposed to something that's terribly cheap. This might be very useful if there was someone better. He only costs 1 military. Of course, he does give 2 extra dice, which is better than a lot of them. Like if I look at my own, I can get a bunch of cav dice for someone. What can I do with my admin? There's not a hell of a lot I can do with admin. So I want to research an ideal that has not been my own. I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to spend 2 administrative, and I think it's 2 diplomatic. Let's make sure I got that right. And do the same kind of thing over here. Sorry about the quick movement. I know that can cause a problem. Quest for the New World, really interesting and all, but you know what? What I'm not able... Oh, there's Tercios too, though. What I was going to do was take the benign diplomats. But I don't have the cards that convert diplomacy. So you know what? I'm going to switch I'm going to switch to my Tercios instead. So those, I take, instead of diplomatic, I take military for that and strengthen myself. That will also give me 3 points. These are spent. My revolutionary ideals is gone. I could do something minor, but I don't wish to. Spain, I'm very interested in the claims in Aragon. Yes, I'm interested in the Reconquest also, but the Iberian wedding is sitting around, and I don't want somebody to screw me over in that. So I'm going to take this, and we get to see how an event works. There's a few things I got to do. 1, Spain moves over here. I get $2 on each of these. Doesn't really matter which one's first. They're all equal. So we just added religious zeal. Establish Inquisition, pay 3 admin to research the Inquisition idea, which I don't think is up there, but that's fine. And optionally another to change the religion of one of your areas with diverse faiths to your state religion. or Diasvult. Pay 3 to research the Diasvult idea, or if you're Catholic, you can pay 1 to do a Call Crusade papal action instead and commit to the crusade. Interesting. That's a B card, so it could have gone in either deck. Okay. So what did we just do? We pulled the Iberian Wedding, and we pay for this. This number is not a cost. This is which deck it belongs in, right? Which half of the deck it belongs in. Yeah. Okay. Is the other one an X or yeah, the other one's an X, the Religious Zeal that just came out. Okay, I want to bind the dynasties together. So I get 2 Unrest and 3 Rebels. One problem with these white tables, linking them together, is I end up with a couple of legs, and it's very easy to kind of get in a screwed up place. So what did I get there? I get 3 of these Rebels in Leon. Yeah, not that kind of rebel. Those are Rebels of the Sea. Okay, 3 of these Rebels in Leon. And they're opposed to anyone, but mainly it's my problem. And I convert 2 of these over to Pitchforks. Now, if somebody else had picked this, they would have taken Salamanca, but I would rather have the small towns. This doesn't affect my income directly, but it might end up doing so eventually. Castile gains a point. And a marriage and an alliance with Aragon. Okay, there's an alliance. There's a marriage. Put them there. And 4 cubes in Aragonese areas. Now, I already have 2 in Aragon itself, but there are other Aragonese areas. And the question is, I want to put this somewhere. Put it out here for now. Oh shit. I think this is, yeah, I have a subjugate. How does this work? That's going to be discard cubes from a target equal to the opponent's base tax plus any opponent's cubes, and I can vassalize an ally or annex a vassal or 1 tax ally. Well, they're not a 1 tax ally, but they're now my allies. So now this card is lined up to be used, which I have to discard from target NPR vassal equal to the target's base tax plus any opponent's cubes. Well, their base tax is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I believe. And I'd have to pay for these 2, 10, 11, 12. I'd have to get rid of 12 cubes in order to completely absorb them. So I'm going to have to do some diplomacy to build that card up. I will put 1 in each of these and an additional 1 here. It's not sufficient, but I just want to trigger all that. Okay, now we go down to this, and we get Isabel I as our queen instead of, and there we have that problem again, instead of Juan. Juan is just gone, and this card is essentially out of play for the rest of the game. This may cause a sort of a weird issue, which is that Philip III, no great loss there, in 1618, he may not be available in the game because I don't make the 1618 start. All the 1618 leaders may just not happen. I can look and see how bad a pain that is if they're taken out. Obviously, it's no big deal for Philip to be gone. Almost any placeholder would do. He's as bad as an interregnum. I'm not going to do any free actions, and this is all that happens. Because there's a leader, there are no events associated with that. I think I mentioned something, or maybe I did. I know I didn't play with it correctly and caught myself last time I was playing. The action phase, once you pass, when there's no more players eligible to get ducats for passing, each remaining player gets one more action of their choice. For each player who has taken an event at this point, this is their final turn. After this, if any players still have not taken an event this round, those players must take one final turn to perform their event. So you can actually stretch out and get an extra action. You're not forced. Your final action doesn't have to be your event, right? You're not forced into that situation. But the key here is, though, once everyone's passed. Now, Spain did not pass; they took an event, but that's the first step towards. Hey, they could start ending things and get their big 5 denaries in payoff. I just want to point that out because I don't know if I went over that correctly when I went over. That would have been in the first rules introduction part, and I don't know if I caught it. On to England. Oh, I don't know, man. So part of me wants to do what I did last game, which was fabricate me a claim to Normandy. That would cost me 2. It would be a covert action. So somebody might have a counter espionage. I have one. And grab myself a claim there, and therefore I can declare war and owner vassalized provinces worth 70 of tax income. I already have 2, 3, 4, 5. These 2 would give me the remainder. So that's very appealing. Also appealing is, hey, the French are next to me, and I could spend, see again, it's not that great a price, 3 diplomatic and 1 military to take the Janissaries, and the French would get no points off of me for me getting it. If I had a spy network, it would be better, but I don't. I have a counter espionage. I think I'm going to fabricate that claim. Now this precludes me doing that because now I don't have the cubes for it. But it doesn't really matter which claim I put down. I'll just do that. I have a cube there, so I'm allowed to do it. And that moves, geez, I have a die somewhere that I was going to use for there it is, for who's doing what. I think this has something to do with the bot, but I'm going to use it as my who's next. That moves us over to Austria. See, there's a fair amount of decision making and you know, comparing and whatever of your different choices. Much like there is in a CDG type game, just in terms of the amount of effort you have to make on your decisions, and especially at this point in the game where you're not really sure maybe even what all your options are, sort of. It's really hard to make that decision of, hey, what am I going to do? You know, what actions am I going to take to try to force this? I have just so many choices, such a rich set of choices, that the cost is high. Now, you could say, well, what about in the old Europa Universalis? What about in the computer game? I don't know so much on the computer game because, again, I haven't played the modern versions of it very heavily. I don't remember. See, the thing is, it's an RTS, and I know that I often stopped it and tried to figure out what I'm going to do, what kind of things, you know, you set up all your sort of your activities all kind of at once, which feels still kind of like the old EU did, where you set everything up kind of during your income phase, and for the most part, you're not doing like diplomacy at a random time. Everybody does their diplomacy at the same time, and so there's these fixed points where you do all this stuff. Here, you're given the choice of all the different things that you can do as an individual action, and you're only allowed to choose one of them. And I find that more taxing in a lot of ways. I understand sort of why people like that kind of design. You can get kind of a kick out of it, like, I love Here I Stand. There's a few others that I kind of like, but when you have a whole bunch of choices and you're only allowed one, and you have to kind of prioritize them, and you might get the others later. It's not like you're refused everything, but it's just it makes those first choices in this game in each set of rounds really, really tough to make. And that's why, those choices of missions were expensive, and now the choices here are again expensive on me. Austria, I have an interesting set of possibilities. So first of all, and again, I feel like I have to go into everything. First of all, there's an event I'm interested in, insisting on restoring the union with Hungary. That gets me claims in the two Hungarian. It gets me a disputed in succession, which would give me a casus belli, but I'd have one anyway. If I build up my army, that would be great. However, I want to trigger this first. This gets me some power anyway in Hungary, even if I don't go the military route. It builds up my income and whatnot. That event will get fired off, though. I'm going to have to choose that event before, and that could be problematic because the disputed succession, I have to take care of that immediately. So I don't know if this is the right move or not, but it's the one I'm choosing to go with because I can't think too hard about things. So I spend 2 cubes out of my administrative to spend this. That'll get me 4 cubes over here. One reason you don't want to have a whole shitload of cards, probably, is that, first of all, you can only hold 5 of them at the end of the round. But if somebody passes early, if a bunch of other people pass early, if everybody else passes early, basically you're in a position, or enough, I think it's 4 people, you're in a position where, oh shit, you've got to take advantage of, you've got like one more action card. You could grab an event and an action card. You don't want to press that claim if things are ending though, right? Okay. I really do want to gather my army. Maybe it's more important to have this. This would give me an alliance, a marriage, and a ruler in play. I don't have... Oh, this is Poland. Not me, man. Yeah. Okay. I'll go with this. So I have to pay $3 as well. These are 5s. So I spend 2. That's because that's additional cost here. And that's all I get. Now, I could have... Well... This is a possible ruler. If I was Poland, I could just play that and have myself a ruler. Otherwise, though, there's not much I can do with this. It's got a military mark, but there might be an asterisk on it. Yeah, it looks like there's an asterisk or something. It's not usable as military. It has no capability. Right? This is just the edge of the scroll here that I'm seeing. Isn't it? I should have my better glasses on. But I don't think there's anything there. I think that's on the edge of every leader, basically. So yeah, I do that, and these are not minor actions to do. These are full actions, aren't they? Yeah. Let me make sure that they're not minor actions, because if they are, I want to fire them off. If they're marked as a reaction or in some other special way, they count as full actions. That will put me over to Poland. And my raid seems, I lost a battle over in raid, and I refired it off, but I don't think that I can win it. So I'll do this one last player and figure out what the hell I'm doing from there. Poland, there's nothing I terribly want to do here, although the Hungarian might be interesting to screw the Austrians out of. I might be interested in that. However, I think I'm going to go with a revolutionary idea instead, and that costs me 2 admin. I get to research an idea at the cost of just 2 of any type. Now, I can't do an admin one, which means there's all kinds of things that aren't available to me. But what I can take is the benign diplomat, which will cost me 2 diplomacy. The reason I want that is that my goals have to do with gaining claims and royal marriages and stuff along those lines. So picking that up seems like a good idea. And that will get me also the 3 prestige that that the other people who've done that have. I have the required stability, and this card also will go away. And that gets us back around to here. And everybody's kind of doing the same thing. Well, half the players are. The other half are pursuing other goals, but those cards just seem so valuable towards grabbing ideas that, you know, you get a bonus off being the first person into an idea. First of all, if you're the first person in, you get an extra prestige right off the bat. And then each other player who takes one of these gives you a prestige. It's sort of like a Ponzi scheme type thing. The next couple people will continue to gain, you know, additional prestige off of it. All right, that's it for now. And my new camera's giving me new problems. These things, because they trigger, and the crappy one, my Samsung there doesn't work this way, but all of these Vireos work this way. They turn on when you open the screen panel, and just automatically. And this one did not when I opened it, which means the wiring there is beginning to get loose. There are ways to fix that, but I tried doing it with one of them where that was an issue and it didn't work. I just bought this fucker, and no, it's giving me that problem. Crappies. But maybe the other one will work if this breaks. I don't know. Okay. So the reason I clicked open, I just came up here. I want to do the Turks for their second action in this round, their second impulse, whatever. But something somebody mentioned, they asked me a question, hey, is this kind of like Here I Stand in terms of the play of the game? And I said, no, you know, it reminds me more of the heavy Euros. And let me explain why. I'm at that position right now. So like in Here I Stand, pretty much you look at a card, you figure out what, you know, you look at your cards, you figure out what you want to do, you just do it. There are a lot of things you have choices to do, and you can prioritize them, but it's not as complex as this. So on this, it's got more of that, you got to balance everything so fucking perfectly. And I find that kind of irritating, but so I'm looking at the Turks. And maybe there was just no answer, you know, but I'm looking at trying to achieve one of these in this first, you know, set of rounds. And I say, you know, I'm sitting right at Constantinople. if I declare war, and I've got one military cube, remember I used a cube for the cannons because there's bonuses to that, right? But if I fire off a military cube, now, one, I can do this. I could just pay $8. I have 15. Is that right? Or is this 3? Oh, Jesus. See, they don't have a number on them. That's 15. Is that what everybody starts with? Everybody seems to have $15 on them. Ooh, did I cheat? Did I give everybody too much money? I'm worried I may have. Let's look at the setup again. No, $15 in the treasury. Okay, that is correct. I look at that. I have $15. I could build 4 infantry for $8. I could put that in my current army. I could build a different army, whatever. And that would get me this one. And then I would gain a claim to northern Anatolia, which, with a declaration of war, I could take this Kastamonu, which is all by itself as far as I can tell. I could look on the gazetteer to see if there's more to it, but I don't think there is in this case. And in Karaman, which is, oh boy, which is down here, which I can't just attack, and that also has more areas that would have to be taken. If I had 2 more military, I could research the Tercios activity off that. So I might not want to trigger the event until I have the cubes to do that. And I've spent the cubes on the military, so, you know, this is a problem. This is very cheap compared to the 5 that you pay over there, or the 4 that you pay when, although of different types, when you play the card like I did. For this one, could I take Constantinople? Yeah, I actually could. All I'd have to do there is declare war for 1 on the Byzantines, and then I would get a free activation out of that, because no, a battle would be created there, so no, I would not get a free activation. I would have to fight the battle, and then it would take another military action to generate a siege. I don't have the other military action, and on top of that, I would also have to spend 1 to move into here, to fight here, perhaps to make a declaration of war there as well. You know, it's just, there's a whole bunch of expenses. I only have 1 military cube. I can't do it. I could build the army, and I could withhold playing this until next turn and get my Janissaries at that point. But yeah, I don't have, you know, an obvious easy move. And it's what irritates me, not that there are limitations or whatever on what I can do, but that I kind of fear that I don't know how long each turn is supposed to be, each one of these sets of rounds, which I call turns, but they're not. But I really don't know how long each is supposed to be. But this is more or less when Constantinople should fall. Now, historically, the Janissaries already exist at this point, but okay, you know, maybe their special capability that they're going to apply shouldn't be in place yet. And I'm fine with that. Historically, the Ottomans already have artillery, although they're just really beginning to get it when they go into Constantinople. But Constantinople falls in what, 1452? If this starts in 1444 and there's only 2 of these in each period, and I don't know what the next period is, but I feel like the next period is the 1492 period. So I probably should be taking Constantinople on the and Greece. I should be doing both of these, basically, in the course of this age, this era. And if I can't do that, I'm not matching the expectations. Now, I gotta tell you, in the old EU board game, I could never match the expectations for Turkey because they're huge, right? It starts already, you know, with all this territory already taken, Constantinople, all of Anatolia taken, but they have to take the Mamluks out, which I found to be possible. They have to take Rhodes, and they have to take out Hungary. And basically Rhodes was the one I can't do, right? And maybe if I concentrated on Rhodes, I could do that, but not do the others, or fail at one of the others. Although Rhodes is really just hard because of the game, rather than a difficulty elsewhere. But but the thing is, it's obvious what I need to do, right, in order to succeed at it. I need to ship an army to Rhodes, I need to fight, I need this, that, and the other, and it's all very intuitive actions that you're taking, building up forces, making declarations of war and everything, and I'm not limited, right? I might be limited by the luck of the dice, but I'm not limited where I can just look at it and say, huh, no, that's just fucking impossible, which is where I'm at right now. I'm looking at this and saying, I can't do the things that I know I should be able to do. Now, maybe if I had operated a little differently, I should be able to. But my feeling is I should be able to get artillery, I should be able to have janissaries, and I should be able to take these two things to match my knowledge of the history, which is in part why I went with what I did, instead of just trying to look and say, how can I optimize my board position? So here's the thing. If I played this like a heavy Euro player played a heavy Euro, I would have figured out, you know, oh, I can't do all these things, so I'll concentrate only on the things that, you know, I see as most important. I hate playing that way. I like to play games as if, you know, my knowledge of the history, etc., helps direct me to do what I'm supposed to do. And that becomes problematic. You know, if that doesn't mesh, if I don't feel like, and I'm also not even sure that I could do both of these, right? Because with 3 cubes to begin with, I would have to be able to spend a cube to declare war on this and on both of these. Now, I believe it's 1 cube per declaration of war. Find it here. Any number of realms by this action. So, yeah, I could spend a single declaration of war and end up at war with all 3 of those, which is fine. That's how it should be. And so I would spend a cube to declare war. I would have to fight a battle. I would spend a cube to launch a siege, because the battle happened that I can't activate my army because a battle was triggered here. So I launch a siege, and then I spend another cube to move into here. I would have to fight both of these enemies, okay? Then I would have to spend another cube to launch another siege. Now, if I had multiple armies, I could do this a little differently, or I could split this army and maybe be able to do, you know, no, because the activation, let me just check. The activation for a activate units, is to take a land activation, and that is performing only one thing, land movement or siege. So yeah, the number of cubes is just not enough to do what I feel is necessary at this point. Now, are there ways to get more cubes? Maybe off the events, maybe off a card or something, but I don't see anything that gets me one right off the bat for me. Now, I can hold off. but then, I'm doing other things to try and leverage and delay and whatnot. And again, I am left with a feeling that I just can't do the things that I should be able to do in this period, right? In a period of, I don't know how many years each half of an era is, each set of rounds, whatever. But it feels like it's probably like 20 years, 25 years, somewhere along that line at the least, right? Like I said, I think it goes from, 1444 is right now, 1492 is going to be deck 2, which means we've got about 50 years, so if we divide that in half, because there's 2 different sections, that's 25 years each. And about 5 actions seems about right. Although some of the actions, again, are just bookkeeping things that would happen in the other game. So, for example, the merchant income and growing your merchants and stuff like that, that's all, just stuff that does not take up time in that version of the game. Now, I'm okay with it doing so, but it does feel kind of, I feel too constrained. More constrained than I should historically, and more constrained than, to the extent that, like, when I try to do something that feels rational, I find that I'm completely stymied by it. And I think I would be completely stymied no matter what. I don't think that my purchase of the artillery, which certainly they should have at this point, they successfully sieged Constantinople with Urban's bombard and whatnot. I don't feel like their artillery improved that much in between that and the, maybe you get to the 1492 era, and it does improve in that. And maybe that's what I just did there, is that I took it from that very rudimentary medieval artillery to, or late medieval artillery, to something that's, really different, and maybe I made that jump. But even without doing that, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to meet, I would be able to meet these requirements. And that's the kind of feeling I often get in the heavy Euros is, why can't I do this and this at the same time? Why am I so constrained by all these factors? Now, to some extent, CDGs do that. There's no question of that. And again, but this is a step deeper into that realm, more into that heavy Euro world. Anyway, I'll go back to trying to puzzle out whether there's a damn thing I can do. Places where a certain amount of luck does come into play. For example, the cards in my hand. So I have the Siege Assault, which would allow me to siege more areas cheaply. It only costs 1 military, and I can siege as many points as the whole army takes, which would be 2, 3, 4 places. Of course, I have 2 here and 2 here, so that doesn't really help me necessarily. I have Logistics Master, which would allow me to activate 2 armies on my turn and resolve battles after completing all movement. Again, that can reduce the cost to 1 military cost to move 2 different armies, but if I declare war on Constantinople, that ends up, and I actually don't even have a casus belli against these guys. Do I get one? Nope. So maybe that's what I need to do. I think I'll just manufacture a claim on Greece. Because I'm left with this, I don't know what the fuck to do, but I'm not getting, I'm not able to get the traction that I want on anything. Of course, I can always look back over here and see, are any of these of great value, because they might give me an edge. Have claims or alliance in 2 of these. These don't count anything near me. High income, discover new continents, those aren't going to help. So yeah, I mean, I'm left with so few choices. And I feel like I'm making a bad decision here, But fabricate claims, this says must be a piece here, but I'm not sure that's sufficient. So like everything in the game, I'm going to have to look up to make sure fabricate claims works as I think it does. So we keep looking. Influence, forge alliance, fabricate claims. Okay, so yes, I can get away with that. So that's what I'm going to do, but I feel like I'm kind of blindly playing one of those heavy Euros where I'm like, well, I can do this, I can get away with it, so let's just do this, because it helps get me towards my goal, but I feel like I'm blundering around and not going to reach the goals that I should be able to reach. And I'm not saying it should necessarily be trivial or anything like that, but I think they're not even possible, except, you know, if things had been different. Now, if I hadn't spent the artillery, what could I have done? I could declare war. That's 1 cube. That gets me a battle. 2nd cube wins me Constantinople. 3rd cube moves me in here, but I don't win it. But that's okay. That's actually okay. I don't mind that. So I think my purchase of the artillery and spending 2 cubes on that is what stymied me to some extent. Because I honestly don't mind if in the 2nd period I have to do this, but in order for that to make sense, I would have to also be able to kind of gain control in northern Anatolia, probably. You know, these were all consolidated by the time we get through. But, let me think. Yeah, no. The difference there, though, is I get more cubes later. I start with this limit of 3 cubes that everybody has at the beginning of the game. Next turn, I may have significantly more. I could have traded some money, or I could trade some money to get myself, you know, 3 more cubes for $4 in the military, which sounds really appealing. I'm not going to do it yet, though, because I want to keep my options flexible. So putting that claim, because I don't have it coming in any other way, sure. It's not like it's impossible for traditional war games. You know, sometimes traditional war games throw you with the same kind of, well, I should just be able to do this. Why can't I? And I may just not be able to figure out the elements that are required for it. You know, so if I look at like OCS, why can't I use artillery? Well, the reason there is because the system is actually broken, but that's something different. But yeah, I mean, you know, basically, yeah, I can't do I can't do a fight. I can't include artillery in any fight unless I have huge quantities of supply comparatively to what you're ever presented with. Same way with France, although maybe not as far behind the curve. Although, again, I bought something. I don't remember what. I bought better troops, right? I bought the Janissary type, the Tercios Janissaries, yeah. Kind of a pain having to search out, you know, what technologies, who has where. Okay, so for the French, I look at it and I'm like, well, you know, I got a couple armies. What I'd like to be able to do is, I'd like to drive the English out. I could do that with a declaration of war on the English. But I only have 1 military cube left after what I did. So I prepped. I'm fine. That was ahistorical as hell. So I'm absolutely okay with that. But I am left with kind of nothing I really want to do. I can't do my military traditions. I don't have enough cubes. Now, the thing is, you can save cubes. Of course, you have a limited number of total cubes between your diplomatic, papal, lost territories, and monarch power. All of that is limited by your countermix in terms of total cubes, which again, I've got like weird I don't know if it works or not. So far, I've never run out, so at least there's that. But yeah, I'm at a position where I don't feel like there's anything I can really do that's clearly good. So I look through and I say, you know what? There is the default. I'm going to spend a diplomatic cube and I'm going to do trade. So for trade, we haven't done this yet, I draw 3 of these. And I look at them all. Lubeck, Bordeaux. Bordeaux is interesting to me. Astrakhan is not. Indian Ocean, China, Japan, Aleppo. It's got a star, but it's okay because Aleppo is within the play area. So the stars are actually still in play. And here I have North Sea, Seville, and Lubeck. I'm not involved in any of those. So these 2 are out of the question, but Bordeaux is interesting. Now Bordeaux's here, the English are involved in it, which maybe I just want to toss these and take $2. That seems kind of shitty though. So let's look at what we got. We got Bordeaux, which is held by the English. We have Poitou, which I don't, it's over here. So I'd be getting 1 from that. Limassol. I don't know where Limassol is. It's over here. That would be a second one for me. Bourbon, I'm sure that's mine. Over here. So yeah, I'm going to trigger the livestock event. Now, I'm allowed to move a ship up to 2 spaces. So I'll take this one from the Gulf of Lyon, move it 1, 2 to here. And that will give me a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So I have to remember that 6. That's my trade value. For the English, they're the only other one. I could move a merchant here, but I don't need to. For the English, is the merchant worth 1? I don't remember. I don't think so. I think the merchant's just required. Let's find the trade section. Oh, I'm in the wrong place, I think. But it'll tell me where to go. Calculate trade power, see page 35. This is where I want. All right. Yeah, it's 1 for the merchant as well. So I have 7. Now, to collect trade income, you must have a merchant there and a valid connection. I have a valid connection running back to my capital. So I have 7 trade points. I didn't even have to move this. Since I don't have to, I'm not going to, because that gives me more flexibility down here. And in fact, I could move this, but then I wouldn't be connected to Bordeaux anymore. All right. For the English, they have 1, 2, 3. There are no pluses against any of these. So the French are going to get $7 and the English are going to get $5. And I'll just hand that money out. That wasn't an ideal result for me. What I was hoping for was to get an option maybe down in the Gulf of Lyon or up here in Champagne and get that as a trade location. And there's a fair number of each location, so it wasn't an unreasonable thing. And worst comes to worst, I get $2 on everyone anyway. As it stands, I get $2 on the English in terms of total income increase, and I get $7 on everybody else. So I think it's better for me to take the $7 than to take the 2. Now I'm going to move to the Spaniards. So close with the Spaniards to being able to do what I want to do. So I look at the subjugate card. That would cost me 1 diplomacy. And then I could discard cubes from the NPR vassal to get the tax base in order to vassalize Castile, which is, or I'm sorry, Aragon, which is what I want to do. As I said, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Naples would cost me another 2, 3, 4 to get that under control. I'm not going to be able to do that, obviously. But 9, I'm at 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need 3 more. Well, I have 3. I could spend those 3 on the influence action. I could spend $3. I only have to spend 1 marker. The rest can be in money. So I can do what I want to do. So instead of subjugating, what I'm going to do is I am, of course, I also want to attack this. Which one do I want to do first? Yeah, I don't know. My other option is to launch a war. I don't have a very big army. Let me see if I can manage the war. But I can manage this because I can substitute $3 for every cube. And I'm basically 1 cube short from taking all of Aragon. Now, could I take Naples too? What did I say? I said 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I'd be 5 cubes short. That would cost me my wad of money, but I'd be able to vassalize Naples as well with that. Might be worth it. That's a lot of vassal space, a lot of vassal pieces on the board. But let me look at the military option as well. But Spain is going to be able to do something at least. For various reasons, I think it's better for me to take care of the Reconquista first. I won't be able to do both in this set, but I'll be able to do both in this era, in the first era. So I say. We'll see. Okay. So if I'm going to go after La Reconquista, I have to declare war on Granada. Now Granada consists of both Granada and Gibraltar. I get that for 1 military cube. But I pay that cube and, oh shit, there's a boat here. Oh fuck, that may screw everything up. So the fact that I have a ship here, I think means that there will be a battle. A naval battle. And that'll steal my point away, which I can't have happen. So let's look at that. And so much of this, when I was playing the other time, so much of it was looking up to try to figure out what all the sort of correlated events, what happens if I declare war, what actually happens, and whether or not that takes a battle is the issue. If no battles were triggered, you can take inactivated units. Okay. So there will be a battle triggered, I believe. Let's look at 28. That's where it sends me. I don't know. That's not what I needed. I needed to find... Okay, there'd be call to arms. I have allies or not. I have Aragon as an ally, which I might be able to call. If any ships on either side are now located, naval battles will take place. Yeah, but how do I know? I believe that there are 2 ship points here, right? No, 1 ship point for Gibraltar. 1 ship point for Gibraltar, because Granada is not a port. So there'd be 1 ship point, so there would be a naval battle there. Which means in order to get this out of there, I may need to do a trade action. And hope for Bordeaux. Ugh. Fuck, I don't know. It's like this tangled web of stuff that you have to do in certain orders because you're limited by these fucking cubes. It's like, what do I want to do? I want to march in and I want to attack, man. Can I do that anyway? If I spend a cube to declare war, I don't get a free attack. I get to move in, though, and I get to siege. And that sounds good enough. Do I want the money first? What happens if I use the diplomacy cubes? I don't know. I'm going to spend a diplomacy cube and take a trade action just like our buddies, the French, did. And we'll see if they get an option. English Channel, Lubeck, Adriatic, none of them are useful to me. East Indies, Indian, Alexandria, nope. Vienna, Krakow, and Kazan, nope. So I will take $2 for my cube. Not a great payoff. You don't want that to happen, but, you know, you also have to take your chances. The problem is the chance of Bordeaux coming up again is really low. And that, you know, one of the Bordeaux cards has been fired. It's lower. I don't know if it's really low, but there aren't any other merchants. I have, I had Seville. That would be a possibility too. So it wasn't that terrible an option. And if it had come up Genoa, hey, so what? I could move a ship over here and have more defense against Granada, and that would be better as well. So there's kind of this, hey, I want to do things, and I'm not really ready for the war because I have that ship exposed, and that was the problem there. On to the English. The English, I'd like to play this, but I don't have the pips for it anymore. What did I spend them on? Damned if I remember. What did I succeed in doing with the English? This is why I should keep a journal, because I don't know what the English did anymore. Oh, gosh. They did not do a research. They did not trigger an event. These are all revolutionary ideas here, so that's only the people who did research. What did the English do? They have more money, but I don't know. Did I fail to take a turn with the English somehow? Like, kind of feels like maybe I did. Or, well, obviously I spent some diplomacy, so I took a turn. Yeah, damned if I know what they did. This claim. All right. Now, if I'm going to go to war, that's great. So the reason I want to do this is that I could get the Tertios Janissaries from the French for much, much cheaper, and that would be really fantastic. But there's no way for me to get diplomatic power into my hands out of nowhere. Before I go to war, I think I want to spend money, or I want to gain money from trade, because I'm richer right now. I take a look at these, make sure there's nothing that is really pressing that I want to make sure that I get. So yeah, I too will go for trade. I like trade because it's pretty easy. I just look at these now. Vienna, Champagne, Novgorod. No. Novgorod. Ivory Coast, Indian Ocean, Black Sea. No. Adriatic, Kiev, Aleppo. No. So I get $2 for my cube. And again, not a great result. And the thing is, I spent a cube that I wouldn't be able to spend this turn, but I would have it available next time. And I have a really shitty leader. All right, we move to Austria. Looking at situations and they need money. Now, one way I could get money is I could trigger one of these, like the Hungarian throne. I think I will do that. Because I don't want somebody else messing with that. It's a low priority probably for other players, but getting it out of the way. Now, I was considering doing trade, but I have like 3 trade zones I can hit. Didn't notice I had that ship down there. Okay, I'm going to insist on restoring the Union. Austria gains a point. And yeah, eventually I may become comfortable enough that I can back away a lot and get a claim in both Royal Hungary and the Hungarian plain. Definitely like that idea. Don't want to cover up anything that's important. The board can probably get pretty crowded here. Flip all... Oh, shit. Oh. Flip all royal marriages in Hungary to the disputed side. That gives me a casus belli against them, but I get a military cube. I don't know if I really wanted to do that. This also happens. Well, what that is. Let's take a look. Looks like it's a cardinal dies, but cardinal dies. You must remove any cardinal except the Rome one from the curia, slide the remaining to the left to fill the gap. Auto resolution would be if I didn't pick this event, but because I picked it, it's going to take the effect that I want. Bye-bye, Spain. And now Austria's in charge there. I don't know if this was wise. I want to do this development. I have so much I want to do. I want to do the development. I was looking at, hey, I can probably secure the electors, but it's going to cost me money, which is why I wanted cash. But now I'm like, oh, maybe I need to invade Hungary. On the other hand, this gives me, I already have a claim on Hungary, so I can go to war with Hungary. If I go to war with Hungary while it's a disputed a religious dispute, that's a different situation. That would allow someone else like Poland to get involved in the war. So I'm actually in a nice position by leaving that alone, I think. I have to try to remember what that symbol is actually called so I can look it up. It is... Yeah, I'm using 25 instead of 10. It doesn't affect anything because there's no limit there. Where are marriages? Okay, they're not here. It's just common tokens who are here. Oh, player. Disputed succession. Let's take a look at disputed succession. I had to remember which letter to look. 22 and 32. On 32, we look. There we go. A disputed succession may be triggered. When a disputed succession is triggered, flip the marriage tokens to their disputed succession. A flipped marriage token provides a casus belli for all players. The token's owner... Ooh, no, I'm going to have to go to war if I do that. Oh well. I want those claims and, you know, I'll follow this. But if I hadn't done that, I had enough money to buy support to be able to trigger the secure electors event. Instead, and doing that might have gotten me the decline of Hungary, especially in conjunction with being able to pay some admin on these. But I wanted the event. Okay, leave it alone. We draw another event card here. Oh, wait. 4 more bucks go on the board. For events. Religious Zeal got one, and this got one. And we just got Successor of Ladislaw III. Allows the Polish-Lithuanian Union to form. Well, I bet you they want to do that. Refuse the terms, Poland rejects it as their ruler. They gain military and a religion, a marriage with an adjacent NPR, and a claim to an area adjacent to those gained. Otherwise, they get a stability, an alliance with Lithuania, and 3 cubes in Lithuania areas, and a peace term. Well, it's their turn, unless Austria wanted to do something that's a free action, and I don't think they do. So now I'll consider whether or not Poland wants to trigger that right away, or, you know, out of the people who really want to fuck with them, Austria is the primary one who's kind of intermingled with them there. Of course, Turkey might want to screw with Poland, but it looks like they're kind of, I don't know, they're right on the border here, so yeah, they might. And, you know, how important controlling that event is for Poland is really the issue. It's not a valuable event for anyone else. You know, the Comet's got $4 on it. That as something starts to get that kind of money on it, it starts to become kind of attractive. That's, you know, like an amount you can make in trade, right? But this has nothing, and I'd just be piling more money on other people. So, yeah. I'm troubled by this one. Okay. So I think this successor of Ladislaw form the union, gives all kind of bonuses. One of which is Casimira is your king now, which resolves one of the issues. This recover from Varna, you want a ruler, not an interregnum, in play. Now, if I form the union, Poland gets a stability and an alliance with Lithuania, a bunch of cubes in Lithuania, and an extra peace cube. All very attractive. If I refuse, though, Poland gets 2 military, a marriage with someone else, and a claim, well, a marriage with someone, which could actually be Lithuania, and a claim to an area adjacent to the gained marriage, and a military and as so the person who plays the card gains a diplomacy or a military. So I would get 3 military here. I would get a marriage. Now, the thing is, over here, I want, not defeat the knights, I want 2 or more alliances. I get an alliance from this, a marriage, and a ruler. I think I want the king. I think I will take the terms because I'm fulfilling more of my goals that way. So that is going to be my action, pushing this, and I'll place the other things. I got to think about them a little bit. It's not a trivial decision because, and we're going to be over on the Turks, and that means I take a break, maybe for the night. Forming the union sets me up. I've already got a marriage with Lithuania, but now it sets me up with an alliance for them. In order to get the recovery from Varsa, I need 2 alliances and a marriage. I already have a marriage. With this, I could have gotten another marriage, but I wouldn't have any alliances. So This seems to get me closer to this recovery goal, which I want to get. It gets me a stability, which is just fantastic. But the other side says owner vassalized 3 or more provinces in Prussia. I could have taken a royal marriage in Prussia, and I could have taken a claim, or I could have taken a royal marriage maybe over here in I guess that's Livonia there, for these 3 spaces, and gotten a claim in Prussia and gone to fight Prussia, which would have set me up to defeat the knights. And it's just hard to decide which way we want to go. I'm going with the historical. Among other things, it gives me a pretty good ruler who's going to give me a lot more cubes for next turn. Here's another thing. I can't declare war while this was in play. So, oh, and we wanted to look at the 1618 choices. So Sigismund III, it's definitely a better leader than Castile would be losing in terms of losing Philip III. Okay, that's another time around, and you can see, you know, the amount of expense that this is running in my head, struggling my way through it. That's fine. Some of it, you know, ends up being the moral quandary of, or the philosophical quandary of, hey, is the game actually doing what it expects? I think it is. I think my objection to Turkey really had to do with maybe misunderstanding what the cannons event meant, what taking that event meant. That technology is going to, having researched that technology is going to set me back in terms of building up as quickly as I did. But everyone else seems to be working kind of on the path, right? As long as at the end of this period, people can either match or have a reasonable chance of having matched their objectives, or made some other choice, like a technology or whatever, an idea that that is the cause of why they couldn't make their needs, or else they had bad luck. You know, like the trade thing, the English only getting $2 off the trade, but they got a pile of money off the French trade, so they shouldn't be too upset, right? All right, just trying to fight my way through. Realizing I failed to mention something I wanted to say. So with this comes with the leader Casimir IV. My immediate assumption would be he is the leader if the Poles pick this card, no matter what. Except the wording here, Poland rejects, and they highlight Casimir IV as their ruler. Rejects Casimir IV as their ruler. I think that's sufficient to say you don't get him. It could be clearer if that is the case. If it's not the case, then the card is, you know, badly ahistorical, right? If you get the leader either way, whether you reject his compromise or not. He is the ruler of Lithuania. You either, you know, take that dual monarchy or you choose not to. Anyway, my immediate assumption, though, was that you got him no matter what. It didn't matter what the choice was. But the way that is worded, I think, is the way that the game tells you you don't get the ruler on that card. I'm going to have to use that kind of reasoning, I think, in a lot of cases. Because there's only so much space on the card that they have to kind of say things maybe a little less nailed down and clearly as they could. It's one of the problems with putting events in cards as opposed to in a big book like the old game did. But so far I haven't seen anything on the same level of confusion as that big book of events, as well as rules and whatnot in the old EU caused, and that is not merely a translation issue. The French rules were pretty much just as bad as what the translation comes across as. So, yeah. So this is an improvement in terms of, hey, do you have a playable game here? I noticed that I did not draw something. No, that was on my last play. But let's just catch ourselves up there. Border friction. Now, I think I put the money on because the Religious Zeal has a couple bucks on it. Press claim. So this is not nationally linked. It's got a couple of events on it. I think this is a Storms. Press claim, gain a military and place a claim adjacent to your realm, and then lose 3 influence. Or don't press claim. You lose 2 prestige, but you gain some diplomacy and get a couple of cubes. I don't know. You know, giving up prestige points and taking, you know, and not getting a claim. This is worth a claim. You know, this is half a claim right here in terms of value. But then you've got the cubes exchange. So I don't know. I got to relight. But we're on the Turks. And it's kind of a pretty day. I just woke up a little while ago. I don't know. One of the reasons I'm looking over here is Turkey's out of resources, basically, or pretty close. There are a few things I might be able to still do, but I'm not finding a lot. And walking into the next round with 1 in each as a backup to my income sounds good, especially if I drop some advisors, which I think is what I'm going to do to set my little Euro engine to generate more cubes. I remembered something about events, though, that bothered me because I was reading this border faction, and it says, you know, gain this, place this, and lose a total of 3 influence. I thought I remembered something that said if you can't, that's basically a cost. If you can't pay it, it doesn't count. I wish it was worded differently. There's some games that say, you know, lose is different from pay, and if you can't pay, you don't do that. Here, it's not specific. I don't remember anything specific about that, but it does say when required. No, some events only apply if certain listed conditions are met. Ignore any effects whose conditions are not met. But I don't feel like this is worded as a condition. It looks like it's just if you press that claim and you have cubes there within the range, you will lose them, which is perhaps an appealing choice to me, actually. I would get a military, which might just give me enough to do something, I don't know. And I would get that advantage. The Religious Zeal is useless to me, and probably to just about everyone, because in order to fire off either of the events, you have to pay. Here it does say pay. Pay 3 admin, pay 3 admin. There's another that's only pay 1 admin as an option for Catholic countries to research an idea. And that's a great price. Remember, we were paying like 4 with the other cards. 1 with the catch up to somebody's technology with a card. But I don't even think I can take this card. In fact, it might be possible that you're in a position where you cannot choose any of the events. And if that kind of pathological situation arises, I guess you can take an event for no effect, But I would say that that's a last choice. That can only be done in a situation where, you know, you're faced with a choice between all the remaining events that you can pick are ones you cannot pay. But all the same, no matter what, you know, I can't take this, which means I have the option on the Comet. All players gain a stability. You gain a couple of admin, which if I could gain, I could then use there, but I might have some use in my hand, but I don't think so. And discard some milestones and or unpicked non-basic ideas and draw random replacements of the matching type. That's kind of intriguing. I'm not sure what happens with discarded. Well, discarded milestones. Milestones are set to the period, but non-basic ideas are, you know, like if you discard them, are they gone from the game or do they go back in the deck? I think they go back in the deck because there might be specific things you can do, especially off of one of these, that allow you to research those events. So I think they do go, ideas. I think they would go back in. Whereas here, you could cause some pain to someone. That can be appealing, especially where things are kind of crowded. Like I said, Spain might be interested in that, although they've already picked their event. In terms of like being able to hit both England and France with the Comet effect there. The only really appealing thing is that there's $4 on there. But I kind of want to keep my turn going, or the round going, because I want to see this last card. Although maybe the border friction is worth just taking, even though I'm not going to get money for it, because I'm not seeing anything that is terribly appealing otherwise. Another reason for me to take this, which is the Lost at Sea. That can't hurt me, so maybe it's not that big a deal. I'm debating this again. I mean, the thing is, the way I looked that up, the way that works, you must choose and remove one ship belonging to each opponent that is not adjacent to one of their friendly ports. Well, all my ships are adjacent to my ports, so I'm safe from that, but some other players may not be. For example, no, it's not going to have any effect. Yeah, so, I don't like this press claims. I don't like what it does. First of all, I don't need a claim anywhere. I have claims in both of these. So that's good enough. I don't want to be at war at the end of the turn. That's the problem. So any war that I create, or at the end of the series of rounds, any war that I generate, I don't want to be still in because I'll lose prestige for that. So unless that military really does me a good idea, because any claim that I put, so I could put like a claim on Naples, which, you know, it's kind of goofy, but I can do that. But that will still lose me a cube over here. Anything that I claim down here, there's plenty of cubes that I will lose, maybe not 3, but I'll lose at least 1 because there's the adjacency overseas. This one would affect both of these. I could jump, but that would lose me these 2. You know, there's just not a good place to put it where I'm not going to pay the cost. But let me keep thinking. I'm real tired because my sleeping schedule, like I've said before, is just a fucking mess. And I was up for a long time, was tired, went to sleep and slept a couple hours, and now I'm still tired. So we are going to fire this off. So and I've already moved that, yeah. By pressing claim, I gain a military cube. That's going to allow me to take Constantinople, which will increase my tax and manpower values, which is a good thing. I'm going to take that claim indeed in Naples. I could have taken it in Dalmatia or Venice or central Italy. Naples and central Italy are both part of the Italian wars, so Turkey's got an interest in Italy. I have to lose cubes, a total of 3 that are adjacent. I only have 1, so the way I'm reading it, I lose this. And then we fire these off, which is going to be the sea, the naval loss. Nobody's in such a position. Everybody's boats are adjacent to their ports, so none of that happens. And then I have to look for triangles, and we run everywhere. So Charles takes a hit, and we're going to have to carry these around and see who else. Charles takes a hit. Isabel takes one. Now, these are kind of interesting because they're programmed to some extent by what the deck is, right? Now, this particular event is a B, a B, right? No, it's an A, but it's an X, which means it could have gone in either deck. I thought these were national based, if they're A's. A's are important to go in. I'm trying to remember the wording of this. I don't know. But the fact that this has a 1, that it's an A-1, means it's in the first half of the deck. So these triangles are kind of programmed to be there. Now, Isabel isn't on the map to begin with. But in a sense, the little symbols become an aging factor. And as with a lot of the stuff, like knowing the events in advance and such not, these could be memorized and understood. Now, the fact that Charles VII is going to die is not that big a deal. He's an older guy, but Isabel was just put in play. So you might want to hold off on taking that event until this one is gone, if that's the case. This is the kind of, a meta concern that who the hell is going to know to do these kind of things? But eventually, with enough knowledge, certainly of a given scenario as you're walking into it, you could have a lot of that kind of thinking going on. All right, that got me through one player with a lot of long-winded discussion as usual. And we reveal the Tater Raids. Okay, they're tatters, or Tatars, but tater tots, man. You lose a dip, but gain a military if you ally with them. Now, this is a B. I bet you this one, well, maybe it isn't. You may gain a flag with either Crimea or the Great Horde. Crimea is over here. The Great Horde is going to be, I assume, over here. These guys here, I'm guessing, which are out of play. Although I'm not sure the Caucasus is. If you have Cuba in an area of the chosen realm, yeah, okay. Or you can raid on Eastern Europe. You must place 3 rebels and an unrest in one area adjacent by land to either Crimea or Saratov, which could be a problem. And we get some more money on these things. So that's at 4. This is at 5. Okay, so using these as 10s might be almost necessary simply because I'm running out of 5s, and there is, if you have more than $50, you pay an attrition. Well, you end up paying. You end up taking out loans that you didn't get anything for. So you want to keep your money low. You're allowed to discard that money though, rather than, you're spending it on excess for the court and whatnot. French side, they have these study technologies which get a little cheaper. If you end up, to the extent that I could play them, if I had points. But if I play the Spy Network, I'd get them cheaper. But the 1 point that I pay for the Spy Network to be present is going to cause me not to have the 2 points that I would have available to buy one of them. So I'm not going to be able to do my technology things. And by the way, the ones that I said were 1, no, they weren't. They're still 4. So that so getting one for 2 or 3 points is a deal. I'm not going to be able to meet any of my goals, but when I look over, I'm like, you know what? I want the Comet because I can't get anything out of the Inquisition, which means that I'll be forced to take this if someone else can get away with the Inquisition, which kind of screws me, maybe not, because I get a military. Shit, got to balance everything again and figure out, hey, does getting that extra military at the cost of a diplomacy that I don't really need, I can still buy the spy thing either way, does that hurt me? Or does that give me a bonus where I can attack something? And what is the something I'd want to attack? And, what would be involved in all of it? Well, I'm not going to be able to end English occupation, I think. Declaration of war cost me 1. I would get a battle here, which means I would not get an action. And then I would be able to do a siege afterwards with 1 more, but I wouldn't be able to end their occupation, and I would still be at war with the English at the end of the rounds. So that's not a good situation. I could buy military tradition, which seems like a great investment, but there's just so many things to balance out and try to figure out. Screw it. I'm going to take the Comet. It's got to be for the best. It's got to be. Okay. It gets me a pile of money. That's one big bonus for it. And I could choose to gain 2 admin and then discard milestones or not unpicked basic ideas and draw random replacements, or screw someone over. Now everybody would lose a stability if I, oh fuckies, this is not in the right place. I think I'm at 0. Somebody's at +1. Is it the Poles? That would make sense. Yeah. There's little insets cut into all of this that these should sit in, but apparently I bump a table or something and they just fall. So they're not really doing the job that I would hope them to do. Gosh. So I could drop the Comet as an omen, just take my money and do a hit on the English, costing them a stability. Or I could gain 2 admin, which sounds kind of appealing, hit everybody for stability, which costs me some money, and get some admin points that I don't know what I could do with this turn. I would have 3. It would cost me 4 to my stability. I don't want to convert an area or colonize. And my leader has a decent admin capability. So I think I'm going to go for the other side, the Omen. So I choose an area adjacent to my realm. I'm going to choose Brittany, and all players with towns in it loses stability. Ouch. Okay. There's nothing that can counter this, so I'm not going to look. And now we turn to the list of interesting secondary effects. Did I move the French? I did not. So now everybody has picked one except the English. When the English pick one, that will fire off the other one. So the first thing here is unrest and rebellion. Everybody rolls rebel dice for each of their provinces with unrest. Does anybody have any? The Spaniards have a province with unrest. I think they're the only ones. So we grab a couple of dice. And they get a exhaust of manpower, if I recall correctly. We have to flip over here and make sure that that's what it is. Exhaust 1 manpower, yeah. And that's going to be move irregular from available or from deployed to exhausted. We'll take that here and push that over. There's no real cost to that as long as Spain's not going to war. Although maybe they are. They got a rebellion up there, huh? And then the other one is look for squares and give them hearts. Enough, that was only England with Henry VI getting hit there. This is all I can do unless I do something free. Now, taking free moves is, so, you know, like appointing an advisor or something. Well, advisors have those little symbols too. So you kind of don't want to put them out until you either need them or it's getting late enough in the round that, you know, you want to make sure that you get them out so that you get your points or whatever. And same thing with generals and whatnot. You don't want to just willy-nilly drop people on the board. That will put me to the Spaniards. Spain has multiple goals, but this army is bigger than mine, which ain't good. I want to go fight them. I also want to make my operations to try to make Aragon mine. But I got to choose one thing. And right now, what I think I want to do is I want to raise an army. So let's see what my general will be. Isabel has no military capacity. I don't have a Ferdinand. And military reforms. This is a cheap innovation. I have this Giancarlo, but nope, he's an advisor. I do not appear to have a general, which is a shame. That would be useful. Researching a military, I could get cannons, which would get me an artillery. Not that I have much advantage, but I could get the tercios, which would help me out a fair amount, and I'd get some points off that. It's just, you know, it's funny because a lot of people are coming to the point where, yeah, we're close to passing right now, whereas with Spain, and I don't know why in particular, but I feel like I have lots of things I can still do with the choices that I made. But if a lot of people pass, I'm SOL. You know? Oh. So I could raise a decent sized army. I could throw, you know, a bunch more troops on the board. So that would cost me 1. It would cost me 1 to attack into here. I won't be able to hit here. I could gain lots of dice. Or take a recruit action at no extra cost where you may use up to 3 units from your exhausted. I think it's a normal recruit action with the additional advantage that you can use up to 3 points. But this would be a reaction, so this wouldn't cost me a turn. That's kind of a neat idea. I need these. God, and I'm going to be holding too many cards. Okay, so I'm going to play this for 1. I'm going to buy all 4 armies, make them all infantry, and pay $8 for that. It'll get me 2 back. These are not the right things. These are. I ought to have the coins always on the table where I can reach them. Okay, so I have spent this. I don't get my advisor that I would have liked. But this is a minor action. I'm a little worried about my timing here. So as my major action, I'll take a movement. Okay. We got to fight. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. Now, it would have been nice to have the additional dice, but it's even better to have more troops, because I can take hits. So here's going to be the Spanish roll. They just get the base 3 dice. They have nothing to add to. I could have used that card to add a bunch of dice instead. I get 1 hit, and this is the rebels. The rebels get no hits. Wow, that's kind of odd. And we need this tray near me somewhere. We'll put it over here for now. Okay. The rebels will not retreat, and I don't want to retreat, so the Spaniards attack again. If I had Tercios, I would get 2 hits, but instead I just get 1. The rebels do 2 to me. Those go into my exhausted pool. I still have to stay. I get 2 hits. The rebels can only get 1 hit because they only have 1 unit. So even though they rolled 2 dice, they only kill 1 of me. Very simple combat system, but now I have won a battle after taking and activate units. That gets me, I believe, a military cube back. Proclaim a winner. If the active player is victorious, they get 1. This only takes place in the action phase only and not in battles against rebels. So I don't get that. Oh, in the peace and rebels phase. Okay. So yeah, this was an action phase attack. It does get me a cube. And unless I have more free actions, the turn passes over to the English. English are in kind of an interesting position. First of all, if I lose Henry VI, I have leaders in my hand. Such great possible English kings as Vespasiano. and Brody. It's King Brody. Or Ferdinand. Yeah, so I would be able to, if I lost him, I would not have an interregnum. I would be able to play immediately, which is kind of neat. Really ought to be keeping a diary or a journal of what's happening, because I would love, it's King Brody. Perhaps Brody the First. Other than that, I'm looking what else I can do. These don't look terribly interesting. I have 3 admin and 3 military. I could go to war, and I think that's what I want to do. The other thing is I come over here, and I'm worried that I get stuck with this, but I look at this, and I have enough admin to play this, which means I can take this pile of money. I don't know that I want to do that. There's advantages to me as the last person who's picked an event. I don't have to worry. Nobody's going to pick that event. Nobody's going to take the event away from me. So I'm not competing for it. So what do I have to do to fight? Well, declaring war would cost me 1 cube. Raising an army would cost me 1 cube. And then besieging these 2 cities would cost me 1 cube. So I can do all these things. Do I have a general? I have several. But they all cost me a cube to play. And that would be okay, because if I win the fight, I get a cube back for the siege. But the siege will cost me 1 cube per unit that I use in the siege, and I will not have cannons. This is the kind of reasoning you got to figure out everything to get it, so that you can get what you want out of it. Without cannons, I'll need 2 cubes for the siege, so I don't have room for a general. Okay. I don't think I have any particularly interesting cards that I can play. I have a couple of these tactical retreats. They aren't going to help. I have my harbor refugees. I could get me an advisor, but that would cost me an admin, and I can't afford an admin. I need the admin for over there. So we have an ally over here, but he's, I think, not close enough to come into play. So I won't get troops from him. All right. So I'm going to raise troops. Actually, declaration of war comes with a free action. If I declare, so let's recount. I declare war. I raise troops for free. I fight a battle. I get a cube back. Does that make sense? I declare war. I raise troops for free. The battle is fought. I have 2 cubes for this. I get a cube for free, so I can appoint a general. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to do that. We're going to declare war on Brittany. Oh no. And we're going to raise the biggest army that we can, because we may need to face France with it. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Costs us $8. And we get 2 back. Good thing we had that trade, right? Thanks, France. And we did one of our own as well. So I've got all this. I look for a general. I've got Ferdinand. Now, this is somebody who might be one of my kings. So the question is between Ferdinand and Brody. Oh, and Vespasiano. Vespasiano's a cav general. He would not make a good general. Brody makes a particularly good general. Unfortunately, he's a better king than either of my other choices, but I'm going to pay a cube to slip him under here. And now I've got another thing that I got to worry about. I get my gunmen. I build them here. Okay. Oh, could I build all these troops? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Okay. I paid 12 for that? Is that right? I think I only paid 8. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. I had too much money there. Okay. That means those 2 cities show up with these guys. They're sort of notionally here. They're not rebels, so I don't want to put them off the map. And we get the dice. Ugh. Things are getting crowded over here, so we'll roll on the map. That's always a good idea. All right. So for the Brits, I get my 3 dice base plus 2 for my general. And I cost 2 hits. That's going to kill that. Even though they have 2 units, they still get the 3 base dice. You always get those 3 base. And they cause 1 hit. I've been successful. That's not even a rebel. I didn't have to pay anything for my Casus Belli other than the cube because, well, I didn't have to pay for the war other than the cube because I have a Casus Belli. I get a cube back for winning the fight. Now I'm established here at war, which means I don't have to fight another battle as long as I don't move out of here. And I think that's the end of the British side of the turn, bringing it over to Austria. And I'm kind of pooped, man. Lots happening finally. All right, gonna take a little bit of a pause. We can't afford to. I need to look up the declare war action to make sure what's happening here. So I don't lose anything because I don't have a marriage and I had a Casus Belli. Call to arms. They had no allies. This is just a claim. It's not an alliance. So, my only ally can't help me. If the target is an HRE member, no. The NPRs call. Targeted PRs. This is all the calls to ally. I do lose this cube. That's what I want. That's the main thing I thought happened that I thought I forgot. And I wanted to check that. But I had very little certainty about that. If any ships on either side are in hostile sea zones. Yeah. Okay, we have another fight, don't we? There's a ship here versus 2 English ships. So there's another battle there that happens. Fuck, I screwed up. No, I did not. I did not screw up. Well, I did screw up. I'm going to leave it because... So here's where the screw up is. What I did here was legal. What was not legal is that I wouldn't get this build troops or move troops because there's a battle here with this ship, with those ships. And that fucks everything up. God damn it. I think I have to unwind everything. I really do. Because, yeah, I gave myself too much, right? This is the kind of thing that, was locking my hands down with Turkey, is that I don't have enough shit to do the things I need to do. And right now, I'm getting really pissed about it all. All right, so what did I have here? Did I have 3 cubes? And $12? All right. Let's give my $12 back. And we got to rethink this whole turn. We had 3 cubes. This was in my hand. This is not on the board. See, if a battle happens, any battle, then I don't get the activate units or recruit units. The activate units here would have caused a battle. But that comes after I do the activate units. I'm sorry, the build units action. But when I declared war, there would be an immediate battle here at C. And let me just make sure C battles count. I believe they do. Yeah, if any ships are located in hostile naval battles will take place. And it just says if no battles were triggered, it's not land battles. Okay, so the English turn was a complete failure, but you get to see what would have happened if I didn't have these ships here. Okay? This is what's crazy. If I didn't have those ships there, I could build an army here and make the attack. I wouldn't be able to, though. I wouldn't be able to build the army that I was able to build because I wouldn't control the sea zone. It would be a hostile sea zone, and all I'd be able to build is a 3-point army. That might still have been enough, right? Because I would be rolling all kind of dice. But now I got to rethink the English turn. Honestly, I am so disgusted at this point and so tired, I'm just going to walk away for a while. I had my struggles with the other game. I screw things up. There's no question about that. But the way that you can screw things up, the more kind of abstracted a game gets, the bigger they seem to become. It's not like, oh shit, I didn't have my supplies, I couldn't make that single attack or whatever. Everything's, this is a huge amount of influence. This one action that I'm trying to take is so complicated and has such a huge impact that I absolutely could not give that to myself. So now, there's the question of what the hell can I do? Well, I could gain a military, and actually at no cost, I would lose the advantage that I get off of being able to grab a bunch of money and get the established Inquisition. This would give me enough, I think, maybe to do what I want to do, right? Why? We would have an immediate battle here, my 2 ships versus his 1, which I probably win. And if I win it, Then on my next turn, well, first of all, on this turn I draw that. On my next turn, I declare war, fight the naval battle, maybe get a cube, maybe don't, whatever. Raise troops. God. Oh. And the NPR can't do a damn thing. Of course, in the interim, France might be able to create an alliance before I get to declare war. So again, I'm gonna leave this as is and come back and see. Maybe I'll sleep before I come back, because trying to figure out what a player can actually effectively do is just so damn hard. And I am almost certain that I fucked shit up when I played it earlier. There's just so many interlocking pieces and so many different things you have to take into account to see, can I do the simplest fucking thing, right? Okay, declaring war isn't the simplest fucking thing. But, you know, yeah, I mean, it's like, if I want to do anything to effectuate my goals in the game, and don't want to just trade or, you know, grab an event or whatever that a lot of people have been doing, I have to calculate so many different things. You know, and you could argue, hey, you got to calculate that kind of shit to do an OCS offensive. Maybe to do it right. That's why I'm staying away from some of the heavier games in that series. Is that, you know, I just know that I'm liable to fall apart. Anyway, I walk away in defeat for a while. While I was downstairs playing my addiction, a thought came to my mind as to what I don't like about Euros, and that this has. And I mean, again, maybe this is worth the fight, but it's this sort of, I have to balance 8 different things, you know, in my mind, and it's not something that's happening all at once. So for example, in the original EU, you had, you know, you have to come up with, you have to make your spreadsheet balance out, right? You have to get all your monies allocated in the right way, and you pretty much don't end up with a lot of extra cash lying around. You're basically just balancing the books, right? You figure out, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and you've got a simple paper in front of you where you add everything up. Well, it didn't add up. Okay, what do I do to change that? What things can I get rid of out of my wish list, as it were? But it's a wish list, you know. You're able to do many positive things. In the Euro-style games, quite often, you say, I want to do this. Well, in order to do element X, you have to do A, B, and C, or A, B, and D. You know, these things will link up to it. And it's not just, you know, you do it all at once. It's this sort of pulsing where I've got to do one thing. So the one thing I had to do right now was to get this war declared or whatever. And hey, that didn't work. That was just a numerical balance thing where, you know, maybe a better feel for the game, I wouldn't make that error. But I'm finding myself constantly in this, if I want to do X, I have to do A right now. And then I have to remember that I have to do B later on. And then I have to remember that I have to do C later on, or D, you know? And there's room in there for somebody to interject and fuck with my plans. And to some extent you could say, well, that's good, right? You know, you've got interaction, you've got people able to screw with what you're trying to do, your balance isn't working perfectly. It is not easy for me to remember those different steps, especially, you know, given the way that I play, walking away from the game regularly and whatnot. But even when I'm just sitting at the damn table, and there's other people taking their turns and whatever, it comes back around to my turn, and I can't remember what the fuck I was doing. But you give me something solid, something simple, like, fill out your essentially 1040 for EU, where, yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm working on that, and I can figure that all out, and it's a unique atomic experience, right? Whereas here, I don't have that atomic experience. And it's not, if a game is simple enough, I can kind of deal with that. Oh, okay, well, if I can do this, then, if somebody intervenes in that, I've got these alternative plans and whatnot. But it's got to be pretty simple, right? Like an 18XX. If I can't buy the stock I need to, I buy another one. And there's like 1 or 2 points in a game of 18XX where any given player has to make real decisions that, everything's balanced on a wire, and they might have to shift their decision based on that. And that almost the only time that has to happens is when you're fucking with the stock market, or you're trying to push the trains in a particular way. There's certainly nothing quite like that in most war games, right? But you start getting into these more modern designs, and I'm going to say, the CDGs kind of do it, where you're like, I play this card, I get this, that puts me in a position where this other card, if I do B on this other card, then I can, I did A, now if I do B on my next time around, I can do C or D. You're making that kind of decision, right? Well, CDGs are so much lighter than what I'm facing here in terms of the balancing problems. Coin is so much lighter. Coin feels like it's almost opportunistic in its play. And you can kind of play the CDGs in an opportunistic way. In part because A, B, and C are all at least atomic actions. But here, there were so many calculations involved in what I had to do that it was very easy to fuck up. Now, again, maybe with a lot of practice, you can get to the point where you can just kind of look at your pool and know, I can do this, I can do that. Certainly, I'm, struggling with those basic concepts of, well, what, can I declare war and fight? Because there's this whole stacked list of things that happens when I declare war. And it's a good thing I went over and looked at the rules. Otherwise, I would not have remembered, even though I remembered the battle aspect, I would not have noticed that, oh shit, I got boats there that are one of the things that got there. It had nothing to do with the actual text of the rules. It just really had to do with me shifting position to over here where I see a different light, and I say, shit. And then I look down through the military actions. Because there's enough complexity in each of these supposedly atomic actions. Hey, I'm declaring war. Yeah, well, there's like 12 steps that, all interleave, and they don't feel intuitive, right? I understand what's going on. What's going on is I'm declaring war, and some battles will break out if I have troops here, or the sea area that I'm fighting immediately becomes contested. That I'm relying on immediately becomes contested. It all makes sense. It's not like, oh man, this is just bogus shit that's happening here. It's not. But it's the very complexity of the element. Now, on the bright side, it is well linked so far, from what I can see. There are places where I got my iffy questions with the cubes and whatnot. Hey, how come, if I have a cardinal, if I have some effort on cardinals, I have less capability to either have diplomatic ties anywhere else or to manage my realm effectively, or, you know, it all just kind of seems like this shaky structure when it comes to that particular question. But that's one particular thing. Anyway, I'm going back down. I'm nowhere near awake enough to deal with this right now. I tried, man. I tried. Still too tired to play. But a couple of mistakes were pointed out to me by the designers. One of which is when you first set up, you draw a hand of action cards, right? 3 plus 3. And then you appoint any advisors and leaders from those cards, paying the hiring costs. Following this, the player may at no cost hold up to 4 action cards in their hand, discarding as necessary. So I would have had to buy some of those advisors or generals ahead of time. I'm not going to worry about that at all. That's not, you know, it's an oops. It did feel funny that you start with a bigger hand than you could start the game with, but it allows you to start with some of your advisors already set up. What I was saying was, when I first read it, was, oh wow, there's no reason that I would buy these advisors. Well, there is. The reason I was saying that is you can buy them during your turn. They don't really cost you any more at that point, and it gives you more flexibility. So I've given myself more flexibility, that's all. And it's not that big a deal, but it does make more sense that you're allowed to play some if you can't keep them all. The other that I don't remember seeing as well is when we talk about the total number of cubes that you can have in your monarch power. I believe what I was told, monarch power, a player cannot keep more than 10 of any one type in their player map. This is over in the game concepts. Yeah, I skimmed through these before I read the rules, but I didn't pick through these and catch them all. So there might be other mistakes that I have in that same area. That's not something that I violated. Nobody has had anywhere near that, but I was saying, hey, you can collect them up. You can, right? You know, you start the game with 3 in each. You can collect them up, but you're limited to no more than 10 at any one time. So you probably want to keep a little below that if you're looking at cards that can generate more. And certainly, you know, as you go from one set of rounds to the next, you're going to want to do that. And I'm in hell over in Raid as well, where my addled state of mind is not working very well there either. So I'm hoping I'll be more awake and can cope with the rest of this sequence. But right now my back hurts and my brain is not working well, and I don't expect that to be fixed until I get a reasonable, both of them really, until I get a reasonable amount of sleep. Lack of sleep is part of why my back is hurting too, because I'm just always sitting in my chair, imbibing the essence of my addiction just constantly. It's just like draining into me. Okay, so although sleep eluded me, as it all so often does, we did take a little trip into the lands of insobriety, and that may help. Can't hurt much, can it? Okay, so I think I'm going to declare war anyhow, and that will fire off an attack there. That'll cost me 1. If I win the battle, I get it back. Then on my next turn, I build my army, the one that I was planning on building. That will fire off another battle. If I win, I get it back. And then I still have 2 to launch my attack. So whatever was going on in my thoughts was probably overblown. And a couple of beers and a martini make it all better. Now, what I can't do, and what I'd like to do, is move a ship in here to gain force. The declaration of war is going to fire off that battle no matter what. So let's do it. There's some chance involved in the situation. We roll 3 blue dice instead of white dice, and we're looking for cannons. And we're facing a single ship, essentially, which I'll put aside just like I did with the armies. But I have double the capacity. I destroyed it. But it also destroyed one of mine. Had it destroyed 2, that would be problematic. This doesn't have to go into here. Ships don't take up manpower. But we got a success, which means we get our cube back. And we are indeed at war with Brittany. And now we do actually move forward. Now, I'm hoping, yeah, there was no reason I had to worry about those tokens. I said this before, I know, but I'm trying to remind myself because only England can select an event anymore. The Austrians, although I built this development and want to use that, there's no question of that, I don't want to use it yet. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire off a diplomatic point. Well, do I want to do a trade action? I better fire off the diplomacy because we're getting to where the turn may end. So I fire off a diplomatic point. Now, I need this chart to kind of understand what's going on the bright side. So 1 diplomacy, I have to spend a minimum of 1. Will get me a cube. But otherwise, they only cost me money, 3 denarii each. And I'm not really planning on spending money otherwise. So I threw a cube in. Well, I'm going to place that cube here in Saxony. And I'm going to spend $6 to grab 2 more cubes, reserving, my capabilities. To put 1 here and 1 here. That's 2 each. I need 9 more bucks. That's a little much. How about 1 more cube and 6 more bucks, which will get me that 1 cube and then 2 more. And I can put them here in Leipzig, Westphalia, and Rhineland. And I can do all of that with the 1 influence action. There is no limit that I can see. Let's look that up because, like I found with other things, that may not be complete enough. You may place as many as you like, but no more than 2 in each area, and I've done 2 in each area in a single turn. Okay. I think that has just gotten me the secure electors. I have 3 or more in Rhineland, Westphalia, and Saxony. Brandenburg and Bohemia. I could have played in those. I chose not to. I have at least 3 cubes in each of those areas. So I will gain a claim if I turn this in, which I'll do. I'll gain a claim in an elector area where I have a cube. I don't have claim to Bohemia yet, so I'm going to put that here because I think that'll be helpful. There's no card about Bohemia in play. There's nothing that's there yet. Now, I know that the Black Army of Bohemia or whatever, maybe it was the Black Army of Hungary, isn't showing up. That may have an impact. I'm not playing based on that. I'm playing based on I have a lot of power over here. Putting it here seems the most valuable. What I don't want to what I don't want to assume is that I don't need a claim in Bohemia, that I'm just going to magically get it or anything of that sort. So I got that. That's the effect. I also get a prestige point, which is the victory for this. And this one goes away. Now, I don't know what the 1B, 2B means. And I don't want to think about that too much. Like, obviously, 1B looks like it should be something that shows up on turn 1, but is the B option mean it should be later or not? I don't know. Do I want to do any free events? No. I'm not launching an attack or anything along those lines. I got the war there. Okay, so we will move to Poland. And we're just going to finish up this time around. I know we would have liked to have done more on this turn. I guess I'll discard this up here or something. I don't know what to do with it. But I don't want to push on too much, especially in a still partially inebriated and very emotional state. Now, I'm relatively close to this. 2 alliances and a royal marriage. I have a marriage and an alliance. I would just have to get another alliance somewhere. To get this, I have the ruler. I could have played a different ruler instead. Now this would give me a stability, which would be nice. I'm already at +1. +2 would be even better. I get to start clearing up unrests. That doesn't really help. But the biggie is that I get to pay only 3 admin for a research tolerance. I don't... Tolerance is here. Tolerance is probably pretty good. It sounds nice. When adding... Yeah, I add a lot less unrest. And I get to re-roll rebel dice. So that's a powerful... that's a powerful card. Especially when compared... I say without looking, to Inquisition. May convert an area action and the Man of the Church are both a little cheaper, but you do get a cardinal out of that. However, so I don't want to spend my admin because I want to hold that for working towards tolerance, which I'm going to be close to. I have a leader with 3 admin. Moving on this one, it's vassalizing Prussia. Prussia's all one nation, so I could start working on getting some influence in Prussia, for example. I could also look at some of these. Central authority I can't use. I could play the harbor refugees. I just love misstating that. That would cost me 1 admin. I'm getting 3. That's the cost for the research as a whole. And I could get an advisor from the top 5 discards. Now, I look over here, and there's a decent military discard, but there's also a few of these. I could take Baruch or Galileo as my advisor. I would still have to pay money, I assume, because the normal appointed advisor would be to pay money. What do I have in my hand? Do I have anything in my hand that I'd want to play? I have better. I have this Johannes, but central authority is very, very valuable. That allows me to increase stability. Of course, that'll cost me 3 influence to do. And it says adjust the action cost by current So it would actually cost me 4. What's the normal cost for increasing stability? It's 5 is the base. So yeah, this would be significantly cheaper to work my way up towards a higher stability. And higher levels of stability are useful because they give me more royal power. So that's interesting. I could play a spy network. I think I'm going to play this Harbor Refugees. Sorry, Harbor Refugees. So that's going to cost me 1 admin and $2. Spends me 3. Now, I could pass if I didn't think I was doing much, but that doesn't seem as useful as blowing this card for the appointment, and I get to pick. Oh, I could also discard an action card to draw a new action card of any type. So I will drop this and grab myself Baruch because Galileo really doesn't sound Polish. Neither does Baruch, but it's closer. And I'll get him there. Now, I spent my money, right? I don't know. I don't think so. I think I got to spend another 1 to appoint him, which is kind of shitty, but I don't have anybody in hand, so that works okay. But now I'm also able to discard cards that I don't, 1 card that I don't like, right? That's what I saw here. And or discard an action card to draw a new card of that type. I'm not impressed with Tactical Retreat. I've got 2 spy networks. I probably don't need that. I like my Central Authority. What do I have for cubes? I will discard my military one because he's not very useful to me, and I get a new card, which is 1 step ahead. Gives me a really good Cav General, and something that allows me to do intercepts and the like. But that's good enough. I could pay for the Cav General and just slide him under there. But again, I'm going to have more actions, and that's it for now. I think I've done enough that I want to load this sucker up. I'm really worried after that 4.5-hour video. Now, yes, that's just the fucking me going through the rules and trying to find stuff. And the cool part about that is misconceptions that I have been pointed out based on some of those. So I don't know about that one. It may have been the first much shorter, still overly long video. But yeah. All right. So we'll load this up as 1.1. Are we going to call it 1.18 or just 1.1? See, the thing is, I was wrong about this, by the way. There's not 2 phases in this. There's 4. So there's 2 in the first half and 2 in the second half. But we'll just call this 1.1. It's the reason we're using that numerical choice is it's 1 for the first era, 0.1 for the first video in the first era. Granted, we're perhaps close to the end of this portion, but I'm really worried about how long-winded, etc. that I am. So I'll put it up. It can only help things viewing-wise and whatnot.